Welcome to Azariah Wild's West, a new
Yes.
episode of Chasing Billy, our live show. We're going to talk a little bit today about Azariah Wild, the Secret Service agent who tracked the counterfeiting case in New Mexico in 1880. And we're going to cover some other
Yeah.
ground. Josh, how are you doing, man?
Man, I am outstanding. I'm excited about this show. We've wanted to I've been wanting to talk about Wild for a couple of months now. Your book came out. Gosh, it's been maybe 3 months now, and just with the coalition convention and all that, the timing was just never right, and we had to get a couple other things in order first. But man, I'm excited to cover some ground. That's such a unspoken or rarely visited topic in the Billy the Kid world. So I think you can. I know what is in your book that's kind of not been discussed before, so I'm excited to share it with everybody else. With that in mind, or before we start that, so usually when you come back from a trip, people have jet lag, but since you weren't on a plane, let's call it Billy lag. How's the Billy lag going being back away from Lincoln? You still recovering? You
Belly
doing good,
lag.
buddy?
Well, it's funny because I left Lincoln. I was thinking, I'm just going to take maybe a 2-day break from Billy stuff after
Right.
this convention, just kind of detox, but like immediately into it. I got
Yeah.
home and immediately got down to Billy business.
Yep.
The pull, I mean, when you leave Lincoln, at least for me,
Mm-hmm.
you immediately feel like you've left something behind or that a
Mm-hmm.
piece of you is still there. And that version of Billy Lag is very real. And I still feel,
Mm-hmm.
I still feel like I need to be back there doing the Lord's work. But
Yep.
yeah, I jumped right back into it. I thought I was going to need a few
I know.
days to kind of like not think or discuss Billy.
Yeah.
Didn't
No, it
happen. I
never
was
works.
in it. Yeah. What about you?
Same. In fact, I think you were the one I was talking to maybe on our drive back to Amarillo. We're like, I think we're going to give a week or so off and just kind of decompress a little bit. And I'm pretty sure that lasted about 14 seconds. And yeah, I can't help it, man. Towards the end of it, I'm like, yeah, I could use just a little bit of a break and let's regroup. But man, there's just so much, like you said, it's the Lord's work. It never stops.
Yeah. Congrats. Thanks to Charles R for becoming a YouTube member. Appreciate
Sweet.
that, man. And Honeybee gifted 10 Chasing Billy memberships. So,
Wow.
man, that is
Damn.
wild.
That's awesome. Thank you.
That's the key word for tonight, wild. It's like a
Wild.
Sesame
Oh,
Street
right.
episode.
Let's see if we can abuse that word and to where it ceases to be cool. So that's that's great.
Yeah, yeah.
Honeybee.
Honeybee says she loves the tilt of my hat. This hat is courtesy of Shane from Australia. He got me this hat, and I thought I would give it a Buffalo Bill
Yes.
tilt. Um, and I even waxed my mustache a little
Um,
bit. I was going for maybe a Showman, a Buffalo Bill
yeah,
type, but Josh said it was the '90s film Three Musketeers with Charlie Sheen. I'll take that too.
right. I'm definitely getting a little bit more of a Three Musketeers vibe than a Buffalo Bill, but both are cool
Yeah.
in their own respects, I guess.
Mario is in the chat just pumping up that Billy hot sauce that we all
Mm-hmm.
got. So we went to the convention and Fred shows up. He's visited this place called Taste of New Mexico. He's got a bunch of their original salsa and sauce,
Mm-hmm.
and they've got this hot sauce called Billy the Kid's Revenge. And it's amazing. It's a ghost pepper sauce. It's
A
spicy,
little
but it's
warm.
not
It's a
like
little warm.
intolerant spicy. And
Yeah.
it's amazing. He's not lying. I've gone
No.
through, I'm on my second bottle already. And it's amazing. I'm going to keep ordering more. So yeah, visit Taste of New Mexico. This is not a paid sponsorship. It's just
No.
really good
No.
hot sauce.
No, they just surprised us with some cases for everybody, and that was awesome. So we've got a membership en route to them as a thank you, which isn't
Yeah.
near enough because they really hooked us up. I mean, I think we ended up with like 3 boxes or 4 boxes of hot sauce. So I managed to sneak home with more than one. So we're gonna be eating breakfast burritos for a while in my house because
Yes.
it's that damn good. It's so good. So yeah,
Look at Dean rolling through. Dean always comes through with
Dean,
the hitting us big, eating big time.
my man. Thank you, Dean. Thank you, sir. Yeah, it's man, I know you did a short little 15-minute deal, a little live thing the other day talking about the convention. I did one too. Man, I feel like I could talk another hour about it. Just every part of it was awesome. My only regret, reading the comments, my only regret was it was just such a whirlwind. I like to use that Young Guns terminology there. That I feel like I feel like I missed almost all of it because I was just so caught up trying to make sure that everybody was having a good time and that everything was covered. That I feel like I just wish I could do it again. If that makes sense. I wish I could do it again and just sit back and enjoy it and take it in. For how awesome it was, because there was just so many cool people there that I can't believe made it from everywhere, and I really feel bad that I didn't get to spend more time with each of them on an individual basis. But they know who they are, and hopefully we've communicated since then. And I don't know, man. I could go on and on. It was such a great event. The businesses in Lincoln were outstanding. The brewery. People are asking, what would you do different next time? I regret not maybe reaching out to the brewery more than we did and trying to coordinate with them more, because they were awesome. The food was awesome. The beer wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Hospitality was great. People, please make sure and shoot them a thank you, or go by and see them when you're in Lincoln. All of Lincoln County, the whole damn thing was just awesome to us. Very hospitable, very welcoming. Capitan, we sent a lot of folks up there to restaurants and businesses there. It's the closest place to Lincoln. They took care of us. They were amazing, and I don't really know why I thought they wouldn't be. It's not like I thought they would be cold or anything. West Lane down at the Smokey the Bear Lounge and breakfast place was awesome to us. Just great group of people. So thank y'all so much for opening up your doors to the coalition and treating us so well. So, anyways, I feel like I've beat that into the ground. What do we got with Bob here?
Bob said he appreciated how we engaged the panel of authors in the church prior to the signings. It was a good discussion.
Yeah. It was. That was one of the things I was most excited about. I wanted everybody to have a chance to ask questions, and everybody there is just a ton of Billy information and knowledge. So hopefully everybody got a lot out of that. That, like I said, that was kind of what I was most looking forward to. That and the tour, Brandon's tour was amazing. Much more in depth and immersive than I was even expecting. So shout out to Brandon again. Most Dangerous Street Tour in America, I think, is the title of his business. Make sure and holler at him. And man, what else do you got as far as the convention goes? We got any cool photos to share? I know some people have seen all of them, but
we'll see what I got here. I don't want to reveal any other photos we're going to share, but let's see. We've got a couple photos of like the group gatherings and stuff like that. The raising of the flagpole, which was
Best
always a good one.
Best photo ever.
Here we go. See if that works. Let's see.
Putting up the monument.
Yeah, there we go.
Really, I'm going to pretty much give Aaron props for that. Like I said,
this is Aaron Presley right here, and we were fortunate enough to ask him to be on the board of directors with us over this trip, and he accepted, and so now he's on a board member for the coalition, which we're thrilled to have him. He got a really amazing welcome package with a official coalition box full of gifts and swag that I never received when I became a board member. So
really, I mailed it, James. Did you not get that?
I'm sure you did, buddy.
I did.
I'm
gonna check with the post office.
And this, of course, we have Amy, owner of the Ellis House, board member, good friend, and then this guy was the life of the party.
Might be actually was the coolest tag along that I've ever seen.
Yeah,
he was the coolest plus one ever.
Yes, this is Damo. Damo is a wrestler, a pro wrestler, and he tagged along with Aaron. And usually, when someone brings someone else who's kind of like Josh said, a tag along, and
Mhm.
they're not really in the Billy stuff deep, you know. They're
Yeah.
just like, hey, this is a buddy. He's here. He likes Billy, but you know, whatever. It's
Mhm.
not a deep academic passion or anything. You're like, oh, this is going to be great. Okay, fine. But uh, totally shattered all those
Oh,
preconceptions
yeah.
about what a plus one is. And
Yep.
I mean, the dude was the life of the party. He was so cool,
Absolutely.
and
Yep.
I became an instant fan of Damo.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, awesome dude. So fun. Him and Aaron both. Like, I can only imagine what that car ride from Waco must have been like with with them too.
Right. Yep. There's Aaron getting the monument set up.
Yep. Already working hard. I think I was on my second cup of coffee while he was doing that. So, they say that's a sign of a good
I was
leader is
watching
to,
y'all. I was watching y'all. Y'all were doing a great job.
I know y'all,
Um,
y'all wasn't out there. Y'all was drinking coffee.
Roland concurs. Damo was
Yep.
such a cool dude.
Yep.
The raising of the flag, which I thought was a cool pick.
Very, very cool pick. Several military veterans there before anybody gets their panties in a wad and says we're being disrespectful. So, yeah, that was a very cool photo. Our boy Fred there taking the lead. Man, let's shout out to Fred. Like, I mean, I've talked to Fred a bunch of times, but damn, he was a cool dude. Fred, I don't know if you're watching or not, but man, thanks for all you brought to the event.
Yeah,
You
Fred
know,
was great.
we sent him all the way to Capitan for like multiple times for no reason whatsoever. I mean, it was great.
Yeah.
No, Fred was another one that I was really, really impressed with with him. He was a good time. Very good time.
Yep. And I know he's from Virginia or Tennessee. He won
Tennessee.
either side of Bristol there. And
Mhm.
so he's in my neck of the woods over here on the East Coast. And it was a pleasure to finally meet him. Fred did the sign for Delavina Maxwell, right, at Fort Sumner
Yes.
at the
Yes.
cemetery there.
Right. Right. He's been working. He's actually been nagging me multiple times. He wants to do some stuff for us. We're absolutely going to use him. The timing has just been off. Is the only reason we haven't done it yet. We
Right.
discussed a couple signs and whatnot. He was going to help us and take the lead on the one at the Tunstall store before the state vetoed that one. Not bitter about that. So yeah, Fred's trying. Fred does amazing work, and we're definitely going to take advantage of his generosity as soon as we can get something lined up.
So what did the state veto at the Tunstall store?
It was behind the Tunstall store. We had done a presentation. We were going to put the monument. We are going to put a plaque or a sign, so to speak, between the two markers for McSween and Tunstall, just notating the other bodies that were buried in the location and commemorating them, listing them by name. The state vetoed that basically because they didn't want tourists searching. I don't know. It's New Mexico. They didn't want tourists searching around other properties in Lincoln and possibly getting hurt on someone else's property and then getting sued. And I'm still to this day, I'm not really sure the reason for vetoing it, but I don't know. That's something that maybe we can come back to at some point in time. But yeah, Fred had done a mock monument sign for that, and it was beautiful. And I'm really bummed we didn't get to share it. So we're like I said, we're definitely going to use his skill set on a couple other things that we've talked about recently. So hopefully it'll work out.
Right. Well, there's
Oh,
Fred
yep.
at the Delavina sign. Mel just sent that in. Thanks, Mel.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And I think that was for maybe they had, I don't know, you've got it zoomed in. They've got a sidewalk like totally surrounding it now. So you don't even have to get your feet muddy. Yep. I guess they did. Okay. Yeah. Beautiful sign. And I think to quote Fred, he said that was just getting started. He says he's got a lot of other things he can do. And as far as sign work goes. So definitely looking forward to using him for some other stuff. So
Yes. And then
uh,
that's the board, right?
yep,
Is that the whole board?
that's us. Yep, that's all of us. So
I love
um
your all's uniforms.
yeah, the cool guys have shirts that match. I don't know what you and Amy's problem is, but uh yeah, yeah, that's we got Mike out of the kitchen for that one. Man, he was a good housewife that weekend. He
Yep. Mike Morrison here.
Yep. So no, great time. I'm anxious to see. We need to get Amy when she gets a chance. I know she was going to do some landscaping around the monument, and I'm anxious to see how that turns out. Yeah, this is here on Sunday when a lot of us, I thought we were going to lose a lot of people going up Sunday to Fort Sumner just because people had to catch flights. But I want to say at one point in time when I did a head count, I think 23, 24 people made it to Fort Sumner. I don't know if they're all in this photo or not, but
Right.
really, really good turnout to go to Fort Sumner and then on to Stinking Springs afterwards. So, man, I love the photos. Some of these will make it in our next journal, I'm sure. And a couple of them I'm going to probably frame and put in my office because great group of people there, man. So it's such good
That's
support.
a great idea.
Yeah.
And you always said that Fort Sumner was always way hotter than anywhere else.
Yes.
And you weren't lying.
Mm-mm.
We got there. I mean, the walk from the parking lot to the Maxwell House location, I still worry about getting heat stroke, and it's been since September 21st.
Yeah,
It
I
was
thought we were going to kill you.
miserable. Yeah, it was miserable, dude.
It is. And honestly, that it was hot. Yes, it was. Having been there all times of year, that actually wasn't even as that bad, to be honest. And I'm not saying that to be tough because it was hot, but
Yeah,
that was
but
better than it is a lot of other times. There's just something about that little couple mile radius that's just miserable. Because was it you or was it Mel that said when we got to Stinking Springs, which is only 13 miles away, it was like 10 degrees cooler?
It was cooler. It was a lot cooler. I stayed in the car though for that one. I was done. But it was, I got out for a little bit and it was way cooler, even
Yeah.
at Stinking Springs.
It's and I always tell anybody, a few of us went to Blazers Mill Sunday, sorry, reading, but got behind on schedule. Yeah, you did, Roland. That's all right.
We're not going to say whose fault that was.
No, we're not going to point that out at all. Not cool of him at all.
No, not cool at all.
Very uncool.
Yeah.
Yeah, like as we're all leaving Stinking Springs, we see the three of them running up, waving their hands, coming in at the very end. But getting back to the heat real quick, I always tell anybody that questions why they didn't set Billy's body out after he was killed and wait for a photographer to show up, I just encourage them to go to Fort Sumner between April and September, and you'll understand why you don't let a body set out. It's just the only other hotter place on the planet might be Wichita Falls, Texas. And for those of y'all that have been to Wichita Falls, Texas, know what I mean. Other than that, Fort Sumner's got to be the hottest place on the planet, and I don't know why. Yeah. But anyways, we got the Stinking Springs photo so we can see how uncool some people are, or we're gonna move on.
Bear with me one moment here. No, we don't have the Stinking Springs one. We've got the Ellis House one, which is quite a group. Give me 1 second here.
I thought we saw that one. Or are we thinking of something else?
Well, no, that was just the board members. This is the actual.
Oh,
the whole
God,
group
yeah,
there.
that is a good big group. I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's
what a turnout.
Yeah, that's pretty much everybody. I think there were a few late stragglers, but I mean, yeah, we got multiple WWHA members there, Tim and Roy and Paul. Of course, you got David Thomas on the other end over there. The heavyweight champion Damo sitting there representing. I mean, yeah,
got that belt.
Got that belt. I was just waiting for him to hit somebody with it. I was kind of disappointed that he didn't.
He let a lot of people wear it though, and drape it over their shoulder.
Yeah,
that belt was a great feature of the event.
Yeah, I'm kind of pissed that I missed out on that. I didn't realize people were doing that, and I started seeing the photos, and I was a little mad. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Here, thanks to Mel, she sent the Stinking Springs pic. Yep. Everybody is just worn out by that point.
Yeah, by that time the heat had got. I mean, look at poor Henry. Even the dog's like, screw this, it's hot. But oh, never mind. Okay, well, so some of them did make it to the Stinking Springs photo, I guess. Okay. I mean, yeah, calling our buddy from Boston all the way up there. Donna.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, just man, Great group. That's I guess, what's the Stinking Springs Monument been up for about a year and a half now. First time I'd been back to it since we put it up, maybe October before last. So I was very pleased to see that it's obviously holding up very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, just looked good. It was a great turnout, Matt. Maybe you can show up to the next one, buddy. Hopefully you can.
Yeah, Matt, it was just magical, man. It was so great to meet all these folks in person and hang out and talk Billy and just have a good time. It was really cool.
Right. Yeah. I gotta be honest with you. I know we've talked about, if we do this again and all that, and I don't know how we're gonna top it. if we make this happen again, I'm just like, I don't know. I know Aaron's got some ideas, but Aaron's frightens me just a little bit. So we're gonna we're gonna have to talk through that, because Aaron takes things to another level. But yeah, look at
Aaron
him right
here,
there.
I mean, he was largely responsible for this get together, wasn't he? The seed of the idea.
We did not at the actual event give him the credit it was deserving, but he's actually pretty much solely responsible for that. So
Yeah.
to tell people real quick, we were at Fort Sumner. We'd already placed the Stinking Springs Monument. I don't remember what day of the week it was, probably a Friday. And we were all at the kid's grave Friday night. And it was after dark. It was late, 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. And we're all sitting by the grave drinking beer and talking. And he gets this crazy idea. He's like, hey, let's do this. And, let's do a whole event. And I'm going to bring in wrestlers. And let's bring in a rock band. And let's do this. And he had all these crazy ideas. And of course, when you're 3 or 4 beers in and you're in the middle of Billy the Kid country, your emotions get the better of you. And I'm like, well, hell yeah, let's do it. And, by the time we left there, Aaron had a freaking 3-ring circus rolling into town. And over the course of, the following year, we kind of molded it into what everybody got. But everybody can thank Aaron definitely for making that event happen, because as we've talked, me and Jeremiah are not known as being the best party planners. That's not really my thing. So I don't know that I ever would have had the initiative, maybe, or the forethought to try and do something of that magnitude. So thanks, Aaron, for not letting me be a lazy piece of shit. I appreciate that, because everybody got a phenomenal time, I think, courtesy of your drunken whim. So thank you.
And again, we've done our live shows, each of us, about the convention, and just thanks to everyone again who made it what it was. And like one of the attendees said, this was a vacation of a lifetime. It was a trip of a lifetime. I'll never forget it. I had a great time. So
Yeah,
it was fantastic, and hopefully we're able to do something like this again. I know it's very energy
right.
draining, and it is quite an undertaking, but hopefully we'll be able to all organize something like this once more. Now, Josh, I know for this month's live, you said I think I'm gonna. How about I just interview you this month, and we'll talk about Azariah Wild.
Yeah.
So let's dig into this guy that is often not talked about, and when he is kind of treated with a little less respect than maybe he should be, I think.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I agree.
let's dig into Agent Wild and some
Good.
Billy the Kid history.
I watched some old Geraldo Rivero videos to kind of get some really intense tactics to kind of get the most information out of you possible. So,
Well, I had a dream about Geraldo the other night.
Okay, Jay. No, seriously. I mean, you're right. It's such a great book. And like I said, I've been wanting to really to share it with everybody else, because it kind of leads us into our next project. But you kind of briefly mentioned it, but give us a decent rundown on basically who he was, how he started out, came to be who he was, and how he ended up in New Mexico. Because, prior to you saying, or us saying that, hey, I think, James, you're going to write this book, my knowledge was very limited to the 3 or 4 months he spent. So kind of take us from the beginning and kind of let us know who he was.
So, and this is all off the cuff, as much as I should. I don't really prepare for interviews and discussions of things. I don't brush up, so this is going to be off the cuff. But when I started looking into Azariah Wild, I really was just blown away by how interesting a guy he was, and how eventful a life he led because of the way he's been spoken about in the Billy history books. Just kind of treated like a goofball, really. But
Mhm.
he was born in Vermont,
Mhm.
um, and around when the Civil War came, he was enlistment age. He was listed on one record as an artist, and a family story is that he was a photographer at one point, and worked in a studio in a nearby city. So when the Civil War broke out, he enlisted in the 30th Vermont,
Mhm.
and his regiment went to New Orleans,
Mhm.
and they participated in the Battle of New Orleans, and he saw a lot of action down there. He was part of the crew that uh, repaired telegraph lines once they took over New Orleans, and he was part of the occupying Union force there in New Orleans once they got settled in. So he was very active in the Civil War, and he transferred out of his Vermont regiment into a Louisiana Native Guard regiment, which was
Mhm.
largely made up of African Americans, and he was transferred over there as an officer over those recruits. And he continued to fight in the Civil War as part of the Louisiana Native Guard. And so once that was over, once the Civil War was over, he stayed in New Orleans and he never moved back to Vermont. And so he got active. He was a radical Republican, which at that time uh, radical Republicans were all about Reconstruction and
Mhm.
uh, kind of taking a heavier hand against the Confederacy and the surrendered Confederates,
Mhm.
and were very adamant about African American rights and things like that. And he was a voting registrar. He went into the parishes and made sure that African Americans had the right to vote, and made sure that they weren't being conned or schemed out of their rights. And he really made a lot of Louisiana folks mad, a lot of ex-Confederates and things like that, because they didn't want to give black folks the vote. And he was out there agitating, and they called him a carpetbagger, which by definition he was. Really, he was a Vermont New Englander, meddling in New Orleans politics on behalf of African Americans. So he was definitely, by Southern terms, a carpetbagger.
Yeah.
But he eventually became one of the first port wardens there of the Reconstruction. So he was official port warden of New Orleans, and
Mhm.
then he somehow got into investigating claims for the government. So, a lot of these ex-Confederates would come to the federal government with claims that the troops had appropriated certain materials or supplies from them, and he would investigate these claims to see if they were fraudulent or not.
Mhm.
And it's my supposition that through these claims investigations, he was recruited into the Secret Service. And the Secret Service at that time was part of the Department of the Treasury. And largely they investigated counterfeit money and other frauds, like the claims that he was investigating.
Mhm.
So around 1875, he was working for the Secret Service. And he broke up a couple rings. In Billy history, we talk about the Santa Fe ring. And Tunstall says, you can't do anything in Lincoln without a ring. Well, rings were everywhere, and there was one called the Whiskey Ring,
Mhm.
and there was an even larger part of that got tangled up with President Grant. And Azariah Wild was very integral in breaking up a cotton whiskey ring in New Orleans. And because of this, he made a lot of the folks involved in that ring
Mhm.
a little irritated. And just like in Lincoln, when Murphy and Dolan and Thomas Catherine and all those guys met opposition, they tried to eliminate that opposition. That's what happened with Azariah. One day, Azariah is walking down the riverbank, uh, just taking a stroll around 1875, and this guy walks up to him and says, "Are you Azariah Wild?" And Azariah says, "Yeah." And he immediately pulls a knife out and stabs Azariah in the face.
Mhm.
He cuts Azariah's cheek and tongue, and he tries to stab Azariah again, and it gets deflected. This sounds like something from a movie, but it
I
gets
know.
deflected by a stack of papers in his pocket. Azariah fights back like a badass. They tumble down the riverbank, rolling and hitting each other, and Azariah gets stabbed about 7 times. And eventually, folks notice, and they come, raise an alarm and everything. A mounted police officer comes to the scene, which happens to be Azariah Wild's brother-in-law, and the attempted assassin takes off. So Azariah survives that assassination attempt. I mean, the dude was stabbed like 7 times. He had his tongue cut in half. It was nuts.
Can you imagine with the medical care back then that he was actually able to survive that? I mean, just from dying from infection alone.
It was wild, and the fact that he just didn't Azariah fought back and brought the guy down the riverbank, down the hill, and so he survived that, and later on, was very active in the prosecution and would interview his attempted assassin once they caught him, and he just never backed down, and so he worked New Orleans. That was his beat. That was his home, and he worked counterfeit cases there. And eventually Arkansas, like the Little Rock area and roundabout, Arkansas was incorporated into the department that covered New Orleans. So Azariah kind of oversaw both of those areas, Arkansas and New Orleans. So he spent time between the two. And so it gets to this point around 1880 when Cooper and Wilson and W.H. West and these guys end up in White Oaks and are passing the counterfeit money. Somehow there's a post trader at Fort Stanton, a company called Dowling and Delaney, and they get a hold of a counterfeit bill, $100 bill, and I think it's $100 bill, and it ends up in Chicago, I believe. And so it's discovered as counterfeit in Chicago. Now, and they track it down to the lady. Go ahead.
Now, stop you real quick. This is going to be prior to the $400, the four $100 bills that went through Wes's possession for the Diedrich stable. Is that correct? Or is that basically kind of what drove them to investigate the area, if I understand that right?
Yes. This bill that they found will lead directly to Azariah being sent to New Mexico, but it's not part of those 400 that that we'll talk about later.
Right.
But they tracked down an old lady who had given this $100 bill to the folks who eventually found it was counterfeit. And she says she got it from Dowling and Delaney in New Mexico. She writes to them, and Dowling says, I got it from, Cooper or whoever. And so that was another agent. Azariah Wild wasn't involved in that. One day, Azariah Wild gets a letter from his chief, James J. Brooks, the chief of the Secret Service, and he said, check into prices for going to New Mexico and let me know if you think it's doable for you to travel there and investigate this. So Azariah does. He calculates the cost of travel and gets with him, and then that's how Azariah gets sent to New Mexico. Azariah Wild, as a result of that $100 bill being discovered in Chicago, is put on the case. I'm not sure why Brooks chose Azariah and not the agent who was in Chicago or some other agent, but that's the one he chose.
And before you kind of get into Wild's experience in Lincoln, one thing that I walked away with after reading all your research and all that was, Wild was definitely, which maybe goes just to testify to how tough the times were back then and how wild, no pun intended, the West really was. Because Wild was by no means a pansy. I mean, he'd served during the Civil War. He'd been involved in multiple engagements. I mean, the knife fight. I mean, the dude was a badass. And and correct me if I'm wrong or elaborate on this, but my impression after reading all the research and all his reports was he didn't want any part of New Mexico. It was a tough, rough place, and I certainly got the opinion that he was miserable there. Do you think that's a fair assessment?
He was 100% miserable there. He hated it. And you can see that in his letters back to the chief. And I should tell folks who aren't familiar with this book that we put out,
Mhm.
the Secret Service at that time had a policy that every agent, yeah, there you go, every agent was required to send a letter to
Mhm.
James J. Brooks every day.
Mhm.
So every day at the end, as evening approached, every Secret Service agent had to sit down and fill out a report and say, "This is what I did today." And they
Mhm.
would send it off. And thankfully, here at the National Archives in DC, they still have those reports. So we were able
Yes.
to go through Wild's reports for New Mexico, and we transcribed them and checked them out. But we know from those reports that he really was miserable. So and a lot of that, there are a few reasons, but really what happens is he gets to New Mexico. He first arrives in Santa Fe, and he meets with Sidney Barnes, the district attorney, and he's ready to rock and roll. He thinks this is another case. He's a very active, able Secret
Mhm.
Service agent in New
Right.
Orleans. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He forms his plans, he hatches his schemes, and he catches the crook. Well, he gets to New Mexico and he just thinks this is going to be another case. And he's writing to his chief. He's like, "We'll have Cooper and Wilson. I expect to have them within the week. It's
Yeah.
open and shut case." And he talks to Barnes, and Barnes is like, "I don't know what to tell you. You probably won't arrest him. Nobody wants to do anything here. Everybody's getting killed in Lincoln. The marshal won't arrest anybody." And he's like, "Okay." He buys a suit of miner's clothes so he can blend in. He's going to go undercover.
Mhm.
And his plan is to go to White Oaks and kind of just blend in and do the investigation, because White Oaks is where Cooper and Wilson and West and all those cats are. West and Cooper bought, or Dedrick and Cooper bought the livery stable from Wilson for $400. That's where the action is. So he takes a buggy or a wagon down to Fort Stanton.
Mhm.
And that's his first experience of New Mexico life, because he hires a wagon driver
Uh-huh.
and he's like, "Okay, we're leaving in the morning." And it's like a Saturday. And he wakes up the next day and he's like, "Okay, the wagon driver that I hired lost his wagon and team gambling last night." And so he lost it. He didn't have a ride there. So he had to secure another ride. I think he ended up riding with Dowling
Mhm.
down there to Fort Stanton. He gets to Stanton and he meets Ira Leonard, and they go to Lincoln, 9 miles away from Fort Stanton, and he meets Dolan and he meets Ira or Jay LaRue,
Mhm.
and they're all like, "Yeah, you don't want to go to White Oaks." So his plans to go to White Oaks is kind of deferred for a while, and so he just talks to Ira Leonard and LaRue and Dolan, and that's how he gets the story of what's going on and how things are happening. Um, so yeah, I mean, there he is in Fort Stanton and Lincoln, and uh, the first indication that he's not going to get what he wants as quickly as he
Mhm.
thinks he was, or thought he was going to get it,
Mhm.
is when he gets to Fort Stanton and Lincoln.
And that was new to me. I guess just through all the the Billy history and reading that we do, I was always under the impression that he stayed and lived in and about White Oaks. But
No,
yeah, he actually. I mean, I would be interested to know how many times he actually went into White Oaks. I don't remember how many, if he actually took note of it or not. Do you recall?
if he went at all, it was just once, and it was on his way home.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah, he
that's
never went.
yeah, that's just a misconception I had.
Mhm.
Why? Well, let's hold off on that question. Billy, obviously, he crosses paths with Billy during that. Billy features, I don't want to say heavily in his story, but Billy was definitely involved, and Wild knew his name. What were their involvement? And why do you think they didn't make something happen?
It's a good question. I think a lot of it might have to do with Ira Leonard, who was, at least, I mean, I guess it's safe to say that Ira Leonard was Billy the Kid's attorney at the time.
Hmm.
But um, I don't think that Wild ever met Billy Bonney, and I'm pretty certain they never met. Of course, the reason why I always speak in probabilities is because there's so much we don't know that can happen between the date a letter is written or a census. We do our
Right.
best, but I'm fairly certain they never met. What happened was Leonard, of course, is like the prime contact for Azariah Wild when he gets into town. And of
Hmm.
course, Ira Leonard represents Billy Bonney. And so uh, Ira approaches Azariah and is like, hey, I got this guy, Billy Bonney. He's an outlaw living in the mountains. He might be willing to cooperate and tell you what he knows about counterfeiting if we can get him a deal and kind of get him free from this indictment he's under and
Mm-hmm.
get him a new start. And he says the same thing that Billy apparently had told Wallace, that I'm ready to go straight. I want a new start. I just need to get out from under these, uh, indictments that I have going on. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was the same thing. Azariah is very professional about it, and he's basically says, I can't promise anything. I have to run any proposal I get. I have to run by my chief, and
Mm-hmm.
we just need to meet and talk it out. And from the letters that Azariah wrote to the chief, we don't know what happened as far as why that never materialized.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Billy never followed up. Maybe Ira Leonard never passed the info to Billy because he couldn't get a commitment
Mm-hmm.
in the way that he wanted from Azariah. We're not.
Right.
One interesting thing is that Ira tells Azariah apparently that Billy had a deal with Wallace, but that it couldn't be detailed out the way that Leonard wanted. So Leonard kind of implied that he was even involved in working with Wallace and Bonnie, which is odd because
Mm-hmm.
in the traditional narrative, we never really see Ira Leonard come into play with Billy and Governor Wallace. So it makes you wonder how much Leonard may have been involved in messing up a deal or not getting a deal between Billy and Wallace.
And that sorry, I've got 3 dogs in here all fighting at my feet. I apologize. And as much as I like Billy, and I think we all like him, I think it's very telling that this is the second time in Billy's short, outlaw career, what we deal with 2 or 3, 4 years here, where Billy's looking at basically being a snitch.
Yeah.
And I think that's very telling. I'm not saying that I fault him for it, because it's a rough time and a rough world, and you got to look out for yourself. But back then, your word was sometimes all people had, and it's kind of telling that this is twice that I think Billy was willing to maybe go back on that a little bit. So I think that's kind of an interesting side of Billy that probably we don't talk about it a lot.
Well, it's interesting because if you look at the other time when he's making that deal with Wallace over the murder of Chapman, they met in Lincoln the night Chapman was murdered to make a deal, to make peace with one another. You've
Mhm,
got Jesse Evans and Dolan on one side, and you've got Billy and Tom Folliard and others on the other side.
mhm.
And part of their agreement is we won't testify against each other for anything that happens. That way we're, quote, ironclad. We
Mhm.
can't be harmed because neither side will testify. And what does Billy do immediately after Chapman gets murdered is, hey, I'll testify against these guys if you help
Yeah,
me out. So, yeah, that's an
yeah.
interesting dynamic to look at when it comes
Mhm,
to Billy. And again, when this counterfeit thing comes around, he's like, hey,
mhm.
I'll help you guys. And he really wanted out, apparently.
Yeah,
Um,
um,
to address Andrew's question real
yeah,
quick, I don't know who had printing machines, if anyone did. Uh, a lot of folks said that Dedrick or West had
uh-huh,
the tools for printing counterfeit money, but ultimately we just don't know. And anybody who tells you that we do know is incorrect,
right.
because all Azariah Wild had to go on was testimony from folks. And one guy who offered a lot of that information was working on the farm or the ranch of Edgar Waltz, who was Thomas Catron's brother-in-law, I believe, or son-in-law. And he never met Azariah Wild, but he worked through Waltz, and his
Mhm,
name was James DeVores, I think. And DeVore said that yes, they have tons of machinery, they have tons of tools for making counterfeits. I've seen it, but he also said there's like 100 men involved, and they have secret passwords and handshakes, and it was
yeah,
very, very seemed exaggerated. And ultimately,
Right.
DeVores never followed through and worked with Azariah and ended up disappearing. He ran off from the farm. So
Hmm.
uh, we don't know if anyone had machinery, if they were just given the currency or if they made it themselves or what. And again, some
Yeah.
people will tell you otherwise. They'll tell you where the machinery is buried and whatnot, but it's not true
Yeah.
unless
There's
they go
nothing
find
to
it,
substantiate it. Yeah. I mean, the best I would have answered that question is, if it was Dan. I mean, I think there was speculation they were operating out of, I guess it was eventually became the Rain Bolt Ranch, which is outside of Hondo, between Hondo and Roswell. And then I guess up in Bosco Grande, which would have been Chisholm's old ranch before he moved south. But as far as are there actual machines there, and was that where they were printing it? You're right. I don't think there's any way to know. That could have just simply been a safe spot for for outlaws. I mean, we know that they certainly use that to hold cattle at. So yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm the same with you. I don't think there's anything to substantiate that we were actually printing bills in Lincoln County. Um,
So to get back to your question about Azariah hating New Mexico, first off, he was a New Orleans resident. Okay, New
mhm,
Orleans is hot and muggy, and a lot of times when we think of New Mexico, we think of a hot place, right? He got there in the middle of winter, and he is not used to the cold that he's encountering in New
mhm.
Mexico, and
Yeah.
he complains about
Good
it a
point.
lot. He's always like, "There's so much snow. It has not stopped snowing since I got here. It's so cold." And another
Yeah.
was married, and he had kids, and he would tell his chief, "My kids are sick. My wife is sick. My family needs me." He would say stuff like that, and then as it relates to the investigation, he was getting conflicting information. He couldn't the things he would act on would later fall apart, and he started to notice something about Lincoln County politics. His buddy Ira Leonard, who he trusted complicitly,
Mhm.
he started to notice that Ira would feed him information and label people as suspects that Ira just didn't like. For
Mhm.
instance, George Barber. He told Azariah Wild that George Barber was a shady guy who had had some nefarious dealings in like Wisconsin and was part of the counterfeiting scheme. And there's no evidence that says George Barber was ever tied up in the counterfeiting business, but it was somebody, George went on to marry Sue McSween,
Mhm.
but George was somebody that Ira was kind of opposed to. And so later on, Ira told his chief, or Azariah told his chief that Ira Leonard was just using him to kind of go after his own political and occupational enemies. And so Azariah got to see that. He started to see that it was just people making up stories to get him to go after the people that they didn't like. And so that was another thing. He couldn't get anything done.
Mhm.
He couldn't get warrants from Sidney Barnes in Santa Fe. He waited for weeks and weeks. He couldn't get John Sherman, the marshal, to deputize anyone. He couldn't raise a posse to go after anyone. He couldn't get people to testify.
Mhm.
Nobody would talk. So his hands were tied. He was one guy ready to arrest who he needed to arrest, and
Yeah.
nobody would help him. And
Right.
a lot of times people lay the blame on Azariah's feet because of that, but it's really he couldn't do anything.
I agree. There are multiple historians out there that have a very dim view or opinion of Wild, uh, and I honestly I was kind of ignorant of the subject beyond just a Reader's Digest level thing of knowledge until you transcribed all these, and I agree. I mean, I think he just kept hitting brick wall after brick wall. I mean, Sherman was a drunk
Yeah.
and wouldn't help. I think Garrett was probably more interested in his own glory and interested in bringing the kid and the wrestling to a halt than probably he was with Wild's
Oh yeah, they didn't care
investigation.
about that.
He didn't. I mean, he I think was somewhat, I guess, somewhat cooperative and somewhat. I guess he did work with him to a slight extent, but
Oh
like I
yeah.
think, like we saw with the Fountain investigation, I think Garrett was more concerned with what Garrett could do for Garrett than he was working with other people. I mean, Garrett
Well,
kind of screwed the Pinkertons over in the Fountain case, and I think he probably did Wild the same way in this. Um,
absolutely. And Azariah Wild is the one that made Garrett a deputy marshal.
mhm,
By the time Azariah finally got the commissions for deputy marshal, there were two for I believe John Hurley, but So Azariah just marked John's name off of one and wrote in Pat Garrett. So Pat Garrett was never
Yeah.
rec- Garrett was never officially recognized as a U.S. Marshal by
Right.
Marshal Sherman. He was written in unofficially by Azariah Wild, and so that's kind of a neat piece of history most people don't know. If
Yeah.
not for Azariah Wild, Garrett would have never had the marshal status to go after Billy before his becoming sheriff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Which again, it is such a key factor to how everything played out, but it's just not known, which I think is really
Right.
fascinating.
And Garrett, to your point about Garrett being after Garrett got Azariah to
Hmm.
uh, hire Barney Mason as an informant at about $2 per day.
Hmm.
Um, and so I'm sure that Garrett kind of overplayed Barney Mason's importance to kind of get Barney a little kickback himself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so this is obviously a very complex topic. I mean, I think we go 2 or 3 hours. Originally
Oh
thinking
yeah,
about it, I think this ties in a lot of key players. I think Jesse James obviously plays into all this. It's always been my suspicions that was probably why Jesse and Billy, met at the Adobe, perhaps. But again, for the sake of time, let's kind of, I want to narrow this down just a little bit so we can hit a couple key points, and at least people can kind of have a little bit of conclusion to this. Why? Tell us how it came to a conclusion. Why? How did all this end? Obviously, we know Wild did not stay in Lincoln County long. Did he just basically wash his
right.
hands of it?
Yeah,
Is that a fair
yeah. I
fair
mean,
thing to say?
Wild was there during the Great House Tavern shooting and all that stuff. I mean, he was in the thick of it, but it just nothing ever happened. Cooper and Wilson and West, they were like phantoms. He could never
Mhm.
get a hold of them, could never get a posse to go after him. And when they did, something would always come up. Well, we couldn't get there, or this horse ran out, or whatever. And eventually, he was just like, "Look, I've done everything I can. I have placed warrants for their arrest in the hands of the proper authorities. They have all the evidence they need. Uh, for instance, he when he went to Lincoln, he examined all of the counterfeit bills that William Wilson passed and that Finney passed. There was another guy named Finney, I believe. Uh,
Mhm.
he got killed later with Joe Fowler, but they passed money. He examined it, he documented it, and he made it available to the district attorney. So all the evidence is here. All the warrants are here. It's in your hands as the authorities in New Mexico. I'm out.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. He got a train back. He went back to Santa Fe and got a train back to New Orleans.
And probably my favorite part of all of it is he gets back to New Orleans, and I want to say a short time later, he gets like basically a telegram or something, or a
Yeah.
letter from Ollinger saying, "Hey, dog, we want you to come back to Lincoln." He was
Hilarious.
like,
Yeah.
"Mm-mm." He's like, "I
Yeah.
ain't doing it." Did he he
Yeah.
wrote his boss
He,
or something, basically just begging, like, "Please don't make me go back."
yeah.
So
Ollinger telegraphed him and said, we need you back. We're getting ready to go to court with these guys. And then he telegraphed him again. It was like, are you or aren't you coming? And Azariah said, he wrote to his chief and was like, if there's any way that I cannot go back, then don't send me back.
please.
Yeah.
Uh, let's talk about something else real quick. So, dealing with this case, one of the best way to say this, one of what I thought was one of the cooler discoveries about this up until a year or two back, and one thing that did make a pretty big splash in the Billy Kid community, maybe 10, 15 years ago, was the discovery of a counterfeit bill that I guess allegedly was one of the bills that Wes had put in the safe of Jimmy Dolan and Lincoln. And, I guess the Secret Service, it came from the Secret Service files. Can you kind of tell us about that? Because like I said, I feel like maybe I've got a little bit of the information cross. And basically, why is that bill not legit? And let's just talk about that.
Well, a lot of times what it comes down to is you'll see this this bill here. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. You'll see this. And you'll notice up top it says reproduction of counterfeit passed in 1880 by Billy the Kid. So there's a claim here that this is a reproduction of a bill passed in 1880 by Billy the Kid. Of course, found by Steve Cedarwall at the U.S. Secret Service vault in 2010.
It's a bold statement.
And go ahead.
I said it's a bold statement. You're right.
Well, it's a very definitive and clear statement. I mean, it's hey, this bill was passed in 1880 by Billy the Kid. It doesn't say a bill like this. It doesn't say, hey, it would have looked like this. It was like, this is a reproduction of a counterfeit passed in 1880 by Billy the Kid.
Right.
A couple places ran the story when it came out. The El Paso Times in July of 2010 said, for the first time in more than a century, one of the counterfeit banknotes proven to be in the sequence passed by Billy the Kid has found its way back to Lincoln County. And this is Dave Turk and Steve Cedarwall. They worked with a Secret Service archivist named Michael Sampson to find this bill. And there are a lot of issues with this instance, and I wrote a short article about it on the Coalition blog.
Right.
But essentially, this is not one of the bills that Azariah Wild examined. This serial number is not one of the 4 or 5 that he looked at and documented.
Right.
It has no connection to Billy the Kid. It has no connection to Dedrick or Wilson or Cooper, other than that it is a counterfeit bill from the Merchants National Bank of New Bedford, which is what some of the counterfeits were from in the Wilson stash. Its serial number is very close to what Azariah Wild documented. So it could be from the same printing machine that made these counterfeit bills. Now, as to whether it made its way to New Mexico, whether it was passed somewhere else, I have no idea. I just know it could be from the same batch. The idea is that they probably printed a ton of these bills. But the issue is, and that El Paso article, again, it talks about the serial number. The serial number on here is 517617. And in the El Paso article in 2010, it does acknowledge that the serial number that they're looking for, that Azariah Wild documented, was 517607. And this one is 517617. There's one digit here that is different. This is a 1 instead of a 0, which is what Azariah found. The problem is that the El Paso Times article states definitively the second number from the right had been changed from a 0 to a 1.
Correct.
So that El Paso article claims that this is the bill that once bore the serial number with a 0, but that the 0 had been changed to a 1. And that's clearly, I mean, anybody with eyes can see that there's no evidence here of tampering.
Well, and the Ruidoso paper had the same article in it as well. Where did those 2 news sources get that information from?
Well, they were speaking to Steve Cedarwall, and I mean, that's the issue. It doesn't attribute the quote to him. So whether it was the paper or Steve passing that off, it's a problem. And again, it goes along with this claim up top here that Steve put out, the counterfeit passed in 1880 by Billy the Kid. There's no evidence Billy the Kid ever passed any counterfeit money. It was William Wilson, Tom Cooper, and Mr. Finney. I think it was James Finney. And that's it. And Dedrick.
And also, we know that didn't Dolan also, or any of the bills that Dolan would have come into possession of, Wild marked them with his own.
Yes, that's another thing. Yes, here's the issue. This is not 100% not a counterfeit bill that was passed by Billy Wilson and found in Dolan's safe and examined by Azariah Wild. It's just not. And one thing, 2 things that would give it away is the fact that when Azariah Wild examined the bill, he wrote across the whole bill A F Wild across the length of the bill.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not only that, Jimmy Dolan put Dolan on it, or a D,
Mhm.
as to signify that he certified it was the one he received. So this reproduction of a counterfeit passed in
Right.
1880 is missing Azariah Wild's
Signature.
certification and Dolan's. And the issue is, I'll read there's a quote from Gail Cooper's book, who is a meticulous researcher, regardless of how folks feel about her. But
Right.
when she looked into this, she emailed Mike Sampson, the archivist at the Secret Service, and asked him, what's up with this bill?
Mhm.
And Sampson, according to her, Mike Sampson with the Secret Service told Cedarwall there were none in the files. There were none of the bills passed in New Mexico as part of the Wilson case in the files. So Cedarwall requested any counterfeit bill from the period. He was given a random bill. So that's from Gail Cooper's
Mhm.
book. So
And
this doesn't say, and that's my problem. This doesn't say reproduction of a random bill
right.
passed in 1880.
And if I'm not mistaken, didn't you reach out to this same archivist? And didn't we?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
was his response? Just to make sure that Gail's not just crazy, which Gail is a little
No,
odd.
it was
She is a phenomenal researcher.
no, she is, and it was, it it was very fortunate that I got a hold of Mike Sampson. This was in 2010, so
Mm,
Mr. Sampson could have been retired by now, or
right.
we're talking 15 years. But he was still there, and he responded to me. He vaguely recalled what it was that we were talking about.
Right.
Um, but he forwarded me, he sent me the email
Mhm.
of his correspondence with Steve, his initial correspondence. And um, it just confirms for me that what we're dealing with is sensationalism. It's not history. It's not documenting something that is legit. It's just
Right.
opportunism and sensationalism. And it sealed the deal for me. That's what we were dealing with. And that this photo is nothing more than that. This email that Steve sent Michael Sampson in January of 2010, uh, he's interested in the serial numbers below, but any bogus note from the bank would help. So he asked for any bogus note from the Bedford Bank. I'm
Mhm.
on the trail of plates that were never found. If I can run them down, I will cut you guys into it, and this could be a good PR thing. The counterfeit ring of Billy the Kid busted. Um, I found a number of things like this: the workbench where Pat Garrett put the kid's body, recovered DNA. So the plates are not impossible to locate, but I want to find the bills to place them with the plates. So I mean, it's just sensationalism. The whole motivation is I could cut you guys into it. And it could be a good PR thing, and that's
Right.
all that this bill is. And that's what bugs me. It's just a good PR thing. It's got
Well,
nothing to do
yeah.
with
And
being real or being history.
mhm.
It's just good PR. It's cool to look at and say, "Hey, Billy the Kid passed this note," but Billy the Kid didn't pass this note.
I know.
No,
I know. And
there's no connection at all.
it's frustrating because that was one of the cooler things when I came across it. I mean, and also we're not even mentioning that there was an article in True West magazine about this note, and a lot of people, a lot of really well respected historians bought into this, and it's just not the case. So, um,
Yeah.
well, I don't know. Like any of us should
It's
be
just
surprised.
right.
Let's.
But yeah, for anybody who's out there, researching Wild and
Mhm.
wanting to learn more about this, I just definitively want to say this is not,
Yeah.
don't cite this bill. It's not one of those
Right.
bills. It could be from the same batch, and it could have been touched by any of these guys, but there's just
Yeah.
no evidence. We have no
Yep.
idea. It was just a random bill.
Yep. I mean, yeah, the archivist literally found a bill that fit into that time period and provided it to him, and
Yeah.
that's what ran with. So,
Yeah.
well, again, that's to me the bill or the possibility of that being a legitimate bill was always the most fascinating aspect of all of the Wild investigations. So, again, I was pretty bummed to see that wasn't legit. Um,
Right.
to kind of finish it out, I know a lot of people have asked. Couldn't find a photograph of the guy. I talked to Roy Young about it when we were down in Lincoln. He has spent a lot of time looking. When you told me that he was rumored to have been a photographer prior to the Civil War, again, it just blows my mind that there's no photo of the guy.
Right.
I know you've dug extensively. I was able to track down. I talked to the main Mason Lodge, whatever the verbiage, right way to use it is for Louisiana. Unbelievably helpful. Talked to their main secretary there. He was incredibly helpful. He dug through all of their stuff. Oddly enough, he was actually only a Mason for a very short time period. I think he was initiated in 1868.
Yeah, he wasn't very active or a
Yeah,
dedicated
I
Mason.
think
Yeah.
I think they said he never achieved that next level, whatever that is. Again, I don't know anything
Right.
about their structure, but he is buried there in the Masonic Cemetery number 1, I believe, in there in New
New
Orleans.
Orleans. Yeah.
Yeah, we went down there, got a picture of his grave. Do we have that so we can throw that up real quick? And then we'll lead into kind of
No,
what we're wanting to do. I did give
I
it
don't
to
know
you,
what
James.
you gave me a picture of the grave.
Yeah, there. God damn it, James. So what a clown. So yeah, so that's where he's buried. I'd have to recall my conversation when I spoke to the cemetery. Again, very helpful, very knowledgeable. I believe his son is also buried in that same plot.
Yes.
And I can't remember which. He had a few, and I can't remember which one it was. But his son's also buried there. We've put out the flyers. We've contacted everybody we need to contact. We've gotten permission to mark his grave.
Yeah.
We're going to mark his grave, so I'm pretty excited about that. We're probably tentatively looking at probably January of 27. So a little over a year and a few months away. For those of you that are not aware, New Orleans is rather warm in the summertime, and I don't want to die, and I don't want to kill James off. So we're going to try and pick December, January, year and a half away to mark his grave. So we are going to be overbearing and annoying, asking everyone to kind of help us out with this project. As we start getting closer, we'll probably start running some ads for it, and we may set up a separate PayPal account or something for it. So hopefully we can raise a little bit of funds, and we can mark this guy's grave. I mean, there's so much about it we didn't even cover. I mean, again, he was a deputy U.S. Marshal. He excelled to the rank of captain over the New Orleans and the Little Rock, Arkansas office of the Secret Service. Dude led a phenomenal, amazing career. And the fact that there's not more to commemorate him, to me, is a shame. So that's kind of what we do here is we pay respect to these guys. So definitely we're planning on marking that as one of our next projects, if not our next project. Sorry, James, go ahead, bud.
Well, it's like I said in the introduction to the book that Azariah Wild deserves to be remembered, and he definitely deserves a headstone.
Absolutely.
So that's what we want to do, and there are those out there, the same kind who make fake counterfeit bills, who say that we do this for money and that it's all about selling merch for us and
Right.
everything. But again, just to
Right.
point out, every book sale, all proceeds from selling the Azariah Wild book go to getting him a headstone.
Yes.
None of us make money off of selling that
No.
book. It all goes to stuff like this, to getting headstones for
Right.
folks like Azariah Wild and just getting it done. I really want to see a good headstone here marking Azariah's grave. I think he deserves it. I think we owe it to his memory. And I'm in contact with one of Azariah's. Well, I'm in contact with Azariah's great grandson, and also with another descendant from another one of Azariah's children. So I am connected with two of his descendants. I've gotten their blessings, and hopefully at least one of them can be there with us at the dedication ceremony if we can come up with the headstone.
Right.
So
Yep.
really excited to do this, and I think we owe it to Azariah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, we'll definitely kind of hit this hard and heavy. As we get into the new year, it's going to be our cover issue. It's going to be the focus of our next journal, Volume 6. Is this project and all your research on Wild. So really excited about that.
Oh,
And yeah.
and about a photo, we may have one. Um, one of the descendants
Mhm.
does have an old box of photos from the family and is looking through them. She told me about a certain photo that she thinks could be him. She described it to me, and why
Right.
she thinks it could be him. And as soon as she finds it, she's gonna connect with us, and hopefully we'll have something. She did show
Forgot
me a
about that.
badge
Mhm.
that we're looking into. It may not be Azariah's, but we are looking into it. But there are some things. Don't give up hope on a possible photo of Azariah Wild turning
Yeah.
up. So,
There's still some stones to turn. But it is surprising. It is surprising that it's not easier to find.
oh, I
Um,
mean, the dude was in the Civil War. He was in the Louisiana Native Guards. He was
mhm.
a Secret Service agent. I mean, he should have a photo.
Yeah, he should. It's unreal that he doesn't.
Thank you so much, Honeybee.
Yes, thank you, honey. My guess is it's we're gonna have to go down and start touring some local museums because I wonder, if there's not a
Right.
group photo of him with the regiments that he was assigned to. There has to be, especially with the Buffalo Soldiers. I mean, those were just so well
Thanks,
photographed.
DB.
Thank you, sir. We went on for a while. Let's
Yeah.
show a photograph real quick. Let's hold off on the book review. Why don't we just show some folks some photographs so we can end on somewhat of a humorous note, and
Sure.
and we'll let everybody get out of here. Let's roll that beautiful bean
I'll just
footage, James.
yeah, I'll just let you take this and take point on this. And
All right. All right. Here it is. Good God. Of I can't even keep a straight face. So of all the images that have circulated, through the Billy the Kid community, probably not one has caused more debate, more arguments, more frustration, and more hair pulling on my part than this one. Um, Man, so a gentleman out of, I don't know, probably Missouri owns this image. He claims, and the claim here is that this is an image of, and James, if I get this wrong, starting left to right, I believe that is Billy the Kid.
Billy.
Beside
Yeah.
beside him is Doc Holliday. Then we have Jesse James,
I believe
and
he says this guy here is Beaudry.
yes, and last but not least is Charlie Beaudry.
Yeah, looks just
Um,
like Beaudry.
you know, I don't even really know where to go with this photo. There's zero provenance to it. I was told that somewhere in the Montezuma Castle at Hot Springs, New Mexico, there's a photo of it on the wall there. I don't know if that's true. That's what I've been told by people that study these things more than I do, and I tend to agree. I think this is a butcher photo, probably not even taken local. If it is, probably up in the northeast by some of the attire. The towels draped over the arms is indicative of that profession.
Yeah.
You're right. None of these look like that. I mean, you literally could say Ichabod Crane and Bram Stoker, and it would make just as much sense. There's when we do these photo speculations, sometimes we bring photos that could be, and we just like to talk about it. And sometimes we're going to bring some photos that people claim to be that are just absolutely asinine. So yeah, this one is just for shits and grins. I find this photo very humorous and find it mind-boggling that people try to push this off as who they say it is. And oddly enough, the individual and the gentleman that owns this photo that swears by it insists that Billy's tintype is not actually him. So
Right.
I don't know what to do. But yeah, that's Clyde Barrow. I mean, that is probably more likely Clyde than it is Billy. I'll give you that, DB.
Yeah.
So,
This is where you
um,
get into the level of like mental illness
it's just
about photos.
God, it's insanity.
It's absurd. And I mean, to where you're like the authentic photo of Billy's not Billy because that doesn't match this one.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't. And you talk to enough photo people, that there's just no provenance for any of it. I don't. And then,
Yeah.
like, why does it look like them? I don't even know. I mean, even that argument to me falls way short here. I didn't know that Doc Holliday was a basketball player. I don't know.
Dude, this doesn't look like Beaudry at all.
No, it's like
Like
I
at
don't
all.
know. And then why Jesse James with the hat? When did Billy the Kid smoke a cigar? I don't know. None of them got guns on. I don't know. I've got nothing. It's it's so bad.
I think these guys are all like restaurant workers or something.
I'm telling you, it does. I do know the whole butcher thing, with the rag over the arm. That's kind of what I've heard. But you're right. They almost look like a wait staff. I don't know who they are, but I can tell you who they're not. Maybe it's maybe.
I like that, Roland.
I like that. That's actually a higher probability than it's the men that we said they were claimed to be. So
Mark and Grace since 1880. That's right.
We'll go with that. That is the original Billy the Kid Historical Coalition Board of Directors right there. Well, will forever be known as that photo. Thank you, Roland.
When we get an office, I want to hang that in there as the first board of directors.
It is. Damn, that's a good idea. I like it. It's going to happen.
Yes.
I've got a picture of the croquet photo on my wall just because it's part of Billy history and part of the lore. And this might make it along with that wall. I'm going to have like a wall of shame or something.
Oh,
and I'm going to hang this.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. It's part of the mythos now.
Well, guys, we've kind of gone over a little bit. But again, this was something I wanted to cover, and there's just so much more to Wild that we didn't even scratch the surface. I mean, there's so much more to the investigation. I just wanted to make sure people kind of understood the basics. And again, guys, if you can go out and buy the book, it's right now it's just softback. Hardback has been a real booger. We're still working with that, but if we can't get it worked out with a dust jacket, then we're going to get with our boy John LeMay, and he's going to just put it on Amazon as a hardback through Amazon, which doesn't have a dust jacket, but it's still really pretty. Either way, guys, please go on there, buy a copy. I think it's like $20. Man, and you guys, James, so that you guys don't realize it, but the money that we've made off of the Poe book and this book goes so far to keeping the lights on, to allowing us to pay the bills, to bring you guys these shows, and now the Wild book, like I said, to hopefully mark his grave, because he deserves that. So with that, guys, I appreciate y'all. I'm filming a pre-recorded episode with John LeMay tomorrow. It's a Halloween episode I'm really excited about. We're going to talk about Billy the Kid Ghost Stories, his latest book, Haunted Lincoln. I'm going to share a couple ghost stories that I've got for what that's worth. A pretty cool ghost photo that I have that I can't explain, so we'll show y'all. I might try and do a quick live episode tomorrow, talking about the courthouse stuff again, on some questions that arose off of our last live. Got a couple days off, trying to make the most of this 4-day weekend. Thank you, Christopher Columbus, even though you're kind of an asshole. Anyways, James, you got anything before we go off, bud? I got stuff to do.
I'm good, brother. Let's get out of here.
All right, guys, we love y'all. Thank y'all so much for joining us.
Thank y'all for watching. We'll see you next